Welcome to the Outer Rim Rookie, a beginner's journey to joining the 501st. My name's Rob Williams, and I've got a lot of guests on this show today. Let's start with one of my podcast co-hosts. Say hello.
Hello.
That's Jamie Millman. I should have introduced him properly. I'm so used to doing this the podcast way.
I did exactly what you said, man. I followed directions.
That's rare. We've got Dan Veloso all the way out in Quadra Island.
Hello. How's it going?
And you all know Dan. All three of us are members of the Outer Rim Garrison, but we have a fantastic visitor all the way from Florida, from the, I got to get this right, the Florida Garrison Squad 7, the northeast corner of Florida. It is BJ Savage. Say hello, BJ.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Good. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Now, I want to do TKs first of all. I'm personally TK55077. Jamie, you are?
I am TK21126.
Dan?
I am TK92420.
I said mine wrong, by the way. I'm not even TK. I'm technically TB or DZ. Yeah. And BJ, you are TK5955. Now, the first question I have for everybody I meet in any garrison or legion is, where'd you come up with the number? What? And that's a 4-digit number. That's OG. So where'd you come up with the number?
Well, I remember when I joined, Clone Wars was hitting pretty hard and heavy, and everybody was familiar with the clones. And we're learning about them, we're learning some of their CT numbers. And I remember thinking it would be cool if I could just have all fives, because then I could remember what it was, like fives. and that was not available. So 5955 was the closest I could get to fives.
That's awesome. And he's one of my favorite clones personally. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, definitely.
I have so many questions first of all, but let's explain why you're on the show here. This starts off with me and Dan just talking about costumes. I just finished my reuse costume, and Dan, you finished like one of the 20 costumes that you've been working on. or sorry, maybe not finished, but you're working on one of the 20 costumes you're working on. You're getting there. You get 4 down the pike, don't you?
Something like that, yeah.
So,
I think so.
You and me were talking about, well, what's next? What type of costume? And I was just going through all the denizen pictures, and I found I went right to the very beginning of the list of the denizens. And as I'm going through it, I noticed this one guy called BJ Savage right off the bat. And I'm looking, okay, what costume does he have? And I went, 1, 2, 3, 7, 20, 27, 20, 30, 40, 60, 70, 80. This dude's got like 80 plus costumes. And I was just like, have you heard of this guy called BJ Savage? And you were like, yeah, I've met him. So tell us how you guys met. I'll ask BJ first. BJ, how'd you guys meet?
See if he remembers.
I want to say at Celebration in Anaheim. Is that right?
Oh,
Chicago. I had Celebration, right?
I should have asked Dan. Dan rarely meets people. I'm assuming, BJ, you've actually connected with so many people in the Legion over time and stuff. So Dan, you and BJ, you kind of just chatted in Chicago and started talking and stuff.
because every now and then I knowing, because I don't know if you remember, but like I'll message you being like, hey, so I have a question about this helmet. I think the very first one was I was working on a General Veers helmet, or my ATST helmet, and I wanted to see if I can use it as a General Veers as well. And that's pretty much, I think, how we've started connecting after Celebration. Just every now and then I'll send you a message saying, hey man, how's it going? And the usual stuff. And just connecting through costumes and all that. Yeah, but it was the 501st bash. I think I went up to you and I'm like, hey, I see you on the forums and all that stuff, and I just introduced myself and had a couple of pictures, met your wife, and you met my wife, and
we took a picture. I think we were both wearing officers, I believe.
Yeah. And your wife was in behind. I could just see her head just popping up between your shoulders. Yeah. So I've got the picture somewhere.
So after discussing things with Dan and we saw all the costumes, we thought, like, one of the things I wanted to talk about in a future episode was how to decide on a costume. And since you are a man of at least, and I want to make sure we get this right, 80 plus costumes. And we're talking from Snow Scouts to Darth Tyrannus. I'm going down the list. Snow Trooper, 332nd Clone Trooper, Realistic Phase 2, and even a Grand Moff Tarkin. That's so cool. And then you have more Rebels, and you do like GI Joe costumes as well. So, dude, the first question is like, how did you get started in this world?
Halloween. I was dressed up for Halloween. Still do. We have epic Halloween parties at my house, and I think one year I was a Jedi, and somebody's like, "Oh, that looks really good. You should join the Rebel Legion." I was like, "What's that?" And then I made a biker scout one year, and it was, not awesome, but when you're making a Halloween costume and you're like, "Man, this looks like and your friend's like, "Oh, that's cool, man. That looks like a biker scout from Return of the Jedi. You should join the 501st. I'm like, "What's that?" I started getting online and, kind of researching that, and found, my local peeps. And I think I sent them an email one day, and I started getting online. I was like, "Oh my God, it's so much. It's so hard. I don't know." I was immediately like overwhelmed, like, "Oh my God." So it wasn't, I didn't dive right in, it was a slow kind of research this and look up that. And Biker Scout was my first costume that I seriously went for. And I got on, bikerscout.net. I think that, I don't even know if that's the same website as it is now. But
I think it might be.
And this is, and it's funny, I got to point out, like, 2010 time frame for the Legion was just, maybe a couple thousand people. Like, everybody kind of knew each other, and if they didn't really know you, they were kind of like, "Oh, that's Bubba Trooper he's over on FISD," and you kind of knew each other through forums, and started meeting people that way. But when I got my costume together and joined, it was actually funny. I mentioned I lived I'm in Jacksonville right now, but when I joined, I was in the military and I was in Georgia. I was stationed there, and I would come down on the weekends, and I thought to myself, this is a lot to do, and a lot of effort and time and gas. So maybe the minimum is once a year. Maybe I'll do once a year. I don't know. But I came down and I met these guys and trooped with them. This was a while back now, and I thought, no, this is pretty awesome. I'm coming, and then I found myself coming down every weekend just about. And the first troop I got to be in was a parade. They were like, "Yeah, just come down, whatever." And I remember, when you're wearing a Halloween costume, you're running around at night scaring people. But when you're suddenly you're a stormtrooper, you're in a parade and people are high-fiving you, and you kind of thought, "Why is this dude high-fiving me? I'm nobody special," And then you just see how happy, like, kids are to, get a high five, or maybe they run up, give you a hug or something real quick, and you're like, that's pretty special to, like, make somebody's day like that. I'm just some Joe Blow that managed to cobble together a proper biker scout, so I was hooked after that.
But to steal a wrestling term, it's real to them. And that's what's important for a lot of these kids, especially when we do things like fundraising, visiting hospitals and such.
Yeah.
And even for the adults, it's got a hint of realism for them as well, which is really neat. So, Biker Scout, your first costume, I love it. So it's 3 Biker Scouts. So Dan, you got to get going on it.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe.
So you started with Biker Scout.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, that was back in 2010. So what sparked the fascination or the desire to build more costumes, get more costumes? Like, what sparked that?
Well, first of all, I noticed if I was going to be trooping all the time, I was putting a lot of wear and tear on, my costume. And, if you're like, maybe you're playing guitar in a band or something, you don't just have like one guitar, you have like a backup guitar in case you break a string and so that was my thought, well, I'll have something else. And I put together, and I really, really I always liked the Navy Trooper costume, because it was like the cool Imperial henchman that they never really talked about. It was just kind of in the background of every movie, but when everybody sees them, they're like, "Is that from Spaceballs? What is that?" They're really they recognize it, but not quite. But I always really liked that costume, and I went, I had to do that, and I realized, that wasn't too hard, putting some stuff together, and I was like, well, let me do something hard. Then I did a stormtrooper because I feel like everybody has to do a stormtrooper. I was a little hesitant at first because my thought was, I don't know, man. All we had back then was like FX armor, and we weren't branching out into all the different characters. And I thought, it was kind of big. I was like, is this gonna fit me? I'm not a big guy. I thought, am I gonna be too short? Like literally, too short. Like, is this not gonna fit? But after I got over the stormtrooper, I was just like, they just started coming. It's just something I really enjoyed working on and enjoyed putting my time and effort into, and I thought, I could certainly be doing worse things.
Oh yes, I love the idea of putting costumes. I find it. Do you find yourself a very good with hands? Are you a good builder? Do you find yourself? Is it easy for you or is it difficult?
Well, I think I'm getting as I get older, a little more fidgety and blind and whatnot. It's not as quick as I used to do some stuff. Now I have to sit down and if I'll sand something, put together a helmet, maybe it'll take me 2 days now than it used to take a day or something. But I remember, I would just kind of lock myself in the garage and cut out armor, sand it, and I think I did my Return of the Jedi armor in like one weekend. I had a whole weekend.
Wow.
Just knocked it out.
Holy smokes, man! You're a
now. If I work on something now, it's like a 5-month turnaround or something. Especially home or something like that.
Dan, I know you had a question. I wanted to hear from you.
Oh, I've got several, but okay. Where'd you keep it all? Like, I tell you right now, like I've got an upstairs, and it's chock full of like all my stuff.
Look at those bins. Look at all those bins.
Wow. Okay, I see where you keep it all now. So.
I'm laughing like Salacious in the corner there.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's kind of part of that's like this side over here. Ignore the huge pile of action figures I have laying.
I was noticing that too, but I didn't want to get distracted. I was so many bins.
Oh. I need to go to Florida. We need to hang out more, man.
Oh yeah, come on down.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
So all of them are kept in your room?
Yeah, this used to be just like an office or a bedroom or something, and now it's just. I don't want to show too much in here because it's kind of a mess.
Do you have to have it alphabetized or something like that, or is it just stick it up on this?
Well, I have one main trooping bin, the old Stanley, and it's covered in stickers, as you'd imagine.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
But for everything in here is like the large bins I just get from Lowe's or Target or somewhere for like $20. And so I don't forget what's in there. I literally, put like duct tape on it, and I'll write like AT-AT driver, And then if something shares parts, I'll make little notes like Snow Scout boots are in the Snow Trooper bin. Check for shoulder belt, little notes. So if I don't just pull something out, and clones especially, I share a lot of clone parts with other things, and I'll make little notes like so and so's pauldron is in this bin. Go look for that. The holster for this gun is somewhere. So it's all in here. And I have like little notes so I can find it, or else I would probably pull something out and just get super frustrated looking through bin after bin. Where's that Rebel Fleet Trooper blaster? Gosh dang it, I don't know.
So how many Rebel costumes do you have?
Now, off the top of my head, I want to say 20, but that could be up or down because I'm not 100% sure. Because I get kind of confused because some of them are 501st too.
Yes,
Like
that's
the
true. Yeah, like
clones.
I think Jawas and Tuscans are on both sides or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's right. I
Troopers can
forgot
be
about
as well, I
the
think.
Tuscans too.
clones. Yeah, but
So-
Jamie, you had a question as well.
I have so many. I don't know, BJ. How you feeling? Do you want a softball, or do you want a more difficult question?
It's up to you. I'll do my best. I'm here to help.
All right. This one
Or
is
amused.
it's a burning one for me. How do you decide which one to wear when you go to a troop?
A lot of it is space. I've discovered if I'm gonna wear a clone to something, like I have to show up early and just bogart all the table space. If we're in a room or if we're in a parking lot, I need to bring like a little small folding table so I can lay stuff. And if it's something that, or I could just throw a TIE pilot on and step into it, or if I'm a Jedi, I might just wear that to the event. It's space appropriate, or it depends what it is. If it's a small troop where 5 people are going and it's all like reserve pilots and maybe a Jawa, I'm probably gonna try to shoot for a stormtrooper or something that probably hits and not, I'm not trying to shade on anybody else's costume. It's just one of those things that hits with the kids. They automatically like, oh, stormtrooper.
You always need a stormtrooper.
Yeah.
Yeah, you show up in like a Garandan or something like that, which is for the nerds. We love it. I want to see Snoot
Or a
out there.
Reese.
Or yeah, but you go to. But if you're doing something like that, sometimes you need to get something that's recognizable. Scouts,
that's how I feel. Yeah.
TK,
Yeah.
those guys you recognize from 1,000 miles away. And then leave for the cons. You're going to pick that were her or something like that. If
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
Which is all these are on his list, by the way, folks. But so do you ever bring like more than one costume to a troop? Depending on the troop, obviously, like a con or something like that.
Yeah, if it's generally like just a charity troop where I'm walking around high-fiving kids in a ball field for like 2 hours, I'm gonna try to probably be a clone or something, but or just stick with one thing. Logistically, if I can bring other costumes to anything, I'll it cons, like they call me Cher because I do like costume changes and stuff.
Oh, there's Rob's new nickname.
Go on, Rob. Tell him about the 6K.
No, this is not about me. This is not about me. My goal for we have a con coming up in February, and my goal is to wear six costumes in one day.
It could be done.
Thank you. Thank
Don't
you.
encourage him, BJ.
Thank you.
Don't encourage him.
There we go.
Rob, I don't know if you know this or not, BJ, but Rob was voted most likely to die in Blast a Trooper.
I love it there. It's so much fun. I'm not wearing my reuse costume in that thing. That's where I actually will die. But I have my son had a question because I told him I'm talking to a guy who has over 80 costumes and his eyes just boggled and he doesn't care about what I do half the time. But he's like 12 years old, but he wanted to know, what's your favorite costume?
Oh man.
That's a hard one.
Mm-hmm.
It is because it's like I don't want to I'm not
Top
quite
5.
crazy. Like I don't have multiple personalities, but sometimes you have you get in a clone fix, or you get into a stormtrooper fix, or it kind of always goes back to Captain Fordo, which is like an obscure character now, but when the Clone Wars came out, and the little Cartoon Network one came out, and I want to say 02, 03.
Yeah,
like,
he's the OG like superhero clone from the 2D animated series.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's really cool.
So that was always my boy. So I like being him. That was pre-Rex.
Do you find yourself kind of changing? I noticed as you're talking about clones, you're talking about mentality. Do you kind of change your attitude depending on the costume? Do you find yourself almost like acting? We had a friend of ours who's an acting teacher and actor himself, and he talks about being in character and stuff. Do you find yourself doing that?
Oh, absolutely. It's sometimes it's hard because you have to be in that zone, but when it really hits you and a kid's like, "Are you Captain Rex?" and you're like, "Right, I'm Captain Rex, my name is," and it just go into it, without.
That's funny. Okay, so you've got all these costumes. I guess one of the things that the reason I started the show was because to become a member, but it was learning how to build the costume. So what was the process for you on starting a costume, whether it was your first one or your recent one? What's the process on how you decide the costume and how you go about going from A to Z? Or Z, sorry, Americans.
so be flexible,
like physically flexible.
Yeah, because a lot of guys want to come in and they have their heart set on something, and it may not be obtainable for one reason or the other. Somebody might say, "Well, I want to be Thrawn," and then they can't wear face paint, or something, or they can't. I don't want to say contacts because that's not really mandatory, but something ends up not quite working out.
Mm-hmm.
I was working on a Django years ago, and for the life of me, I couldn't quite get the vest right, and I was so frustrated. I just ended up selling it and not finishing it. But like I tell people, do the costume you want to make. But don't get so wrapped up into you have to do this, because you'll get a box of white or black plastic or whatever show up, and you may get so overwhelmed. It may not be for you, especially if you're by yourself. Get some help, get on the detachments, research, look at tutorials. And I know I keep saying maybe something's not for somebody. That sounds so bad. I don't mean that in a negative light, but let me maybe another example. A young fella I know, he bought a Death Trooper kit, and it was already put together, and it was fiberglass. And I don't know where he got it from. This thing was not going to fit this guy. We cut it apart and put it back together and had to resand it and repaint it. And I was just like, I don't know, man, you might want to get something else or get a different kit, or, sometimes you get a bad kit. My first Biker Scout, and this is back in the day too, there's reliable sellers and reliable makers, and, you get your foot in the door and people tell you, no, don't get that junk from eBay, here's a list. I know a guy. Tell him BJ sent.
Have you found that the
wrong thing, you'll get so discouraged, and I see people get discouraged all the very easy about like what I would consider something small, and it may be small to me, but one thing will be like, you know what, I'm done. I can't do this. And once you get past that, and you really sometimes you just have to open that brown box and just start cutting. Jump in and
the first cut. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. First cut's always the hardest.
Get some courage in you.
A little bit of blue milk.
Don't mess up too bad though.
A bit of spatchka.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you found over since doing this for so long now, with a lot of 3D printing, especially over the last 3 years, has just kind of blown up. What have you dove into that world? Have you seen the whole field change because of that?
Oh my God, yes. I still don't have a 3D printer because I still fight with like changing the router in my computer and stuff like that. So I'm still like until they're completely plug and play, I don't want to mess with it. But I know people that have printed stuff for me. Mm-hmm. Let's see. You can kind of see. There it is. My Neo helmet behind me. That was a 3D printed.
Oh, nice
helmet, and they look cool, but you got to put some work into them too. I like a lot of Bondo, a lot of sanding, paint.
I think what fools a lot of people is they think 3D printed, ready to go, and it's not. It requires a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah, there's still work into it. I mean, there's stuff that people will print me, like little pieces and parts, and they're good to go. I mean,
Yeah.
especially from, in my opinion, 5 feet away, you're like, oh, that looks fine. Yeah, you're good. Ready to go.
yeah.
So, yeah,
Dan, you had a
things
question.
you-
Oh, I apologize. I
um,
apologize, BJ.
No. No, sorry.
Oh, jeez, you pretty much answered most of the ones that I had on here. Actually, how does your wife handle it all?
That was
Sorry.
How's your wife handle it?
Yeah,
You can
how's your-
blink once if it's okay, blink twice.
She's asleep.
Shoulders.
You kind of begrudgingly,
She loves
deals
it.
with- She used to troop with me and wear costumes a lot, but she's slowed down. She's like, whatever. I'll go to the big parades or whatever,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to everything like you are. I'm like, well,
She
that's
is-
fair.
She is awesome, though. Like. Sorry.
But it's good that she's supportive. She understands what this means, and it is for a good cause as well.
Yeah.
How often do you troop? Like a month or a year?
How often do I? Well, this last year of 2023, they gave me a certificate that said I trooped 36 times. That's the only way I know that's how many times I trooped. So,
That's awesome.
I just troop when I can, if it's something near me, if it's fun.
Yeah.
As you see, I work kind of odd hours, so a lot of times I miss stuff because of work. But I try to do at least a couple things a month, if I can. We just have so many troops here. I feel like I'm missing out if I don't go to something.
Yeah, a lot of FOMO happens out there if you're not trooping, I feel.
Yeah.
That's why I try to get to as much as I can, and schedule does dictate, as you were saying.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because it's always a good time.
Jamie, you had another question.
Yeah, I'm hoping this one is different from my last question, but it could be the same. Is there a costume that you're most proud of, either in terms of like you pulled it off, or maybe it was like a bucket list costume? You're like, yeah, I got it.
Man, that's hard to kind of pinpoint because you feel like that about all of them. It's such a rush when you think you're done. You're like, am I done? Is this good enough to submit? Well, let's see. Let's go ahead and turn it in. And then you kind of wait, hear back. And then if you get the hey man, good job, buddy. Approved. Nice work. Then it's like, it's such a rush. You're like, oh my God, yes, I feel so accomplished. I feel like I've really kind of gone over a hill, achieved another milestone, something. Is it important? No, but it gives you whatever. I mean, hey, whatever makes you feel good, like again, I could be doing worse things, caught up in the worst stuff. But I don't know, but like I said, I feel like that way with every costume to a point. But like I just did Rex, and I feel like, yeah, I'm Rex. Look at that, like cool.
You still feel that even after all these costumes, that thumbs up from the garrison says, you know what, you did it, congrats. Still feels good, eh?
Yeah. If I get that, man, that's especially Rebel Legion, because I feel like they're a little more like, oh, BJ back again. We got to give him a little bit of, scrutiny here.
You find it more difficult
we
to
got 3 submissions for him this week. We're getting tired of seeing his. Start putting some more, putting some more rules or standards on it. No, I'm kidding. They're great.
I know. That's funny. So which costume has been the most difficult to build? You mentioned Django, and you said you didn't finish that one. But of the ones you have completed, and even the ones you haven't completed, which ones have been the most difficult for you?
Probably. I don't know. I mean, anytime I finish a clone, I feel like that's like I just built a car. Because there's so many pieces you got to put together, and you got to know where they go. And there's Bondo involved, and painting and sanding involved. So, anytime I guess my first clone, that was probably I did first just a basic phase 1 grunt. And I remember, getting it ready, and I had a little trouble with the belt at first because I used a rubber belt. I didn't know about Plasti Dip yet. And I remember just getting mad, just spray painting this thing white for hours. And it would like be yellow the next day again. I'd be like, "Argh,"
Oh,
So when I finally figured that out, that felt like I had moved like another piece of the chessboard closer to winning the game. And then I remember submitting that too, and they were like, "Well, you're too clean. You got to be weathered." And I thought, are they not clean on Camino? Did they not clean their own? They clean when they were
yeah, shiny.
Yeah, they had shinies. Come on, and they're like, "Well, we can, okay, if you want us to prove you, but we're gonna make fun of you." And I'm like, "Okay, fine. I'll weather it up."
Okay, I
like
thought
that.
that only happens
That
in my
means-
garrison, but apparently not. So I like mine
Hey.
clean.
I used to
Yeah.
play my
Clean.
TK religiously because there's at least until the Mando stuff, you don't see any dirty TKs.
Right.
But
Yeah.
nah, the scout, man, you gotta weather that, Rob. You're overdue. I'm gonna make fun of you for that, having a clean scout.
I'm doing it naturally.
Oh, nah, what a cop out.
I would not weather my scout for the longest time because I thought, well, you're going to get back from the woods and, you're going to go back to garrison. You're going to clean, you're going to tidy up, you're not going to just be dirty all the time.
I'll just go wandering through the forest. How about that? I'll just do it naturally. Like I said, just wander,
Roll
bump
you down a
around.
hill in the forest, maybe.
Well, I could if be tripping around there. So do you find that
from Rob saying he's got ticks?
do you find that clone troopers are typically the hardest costumes to put together? I've heard that from a number of people.
Armor wise, yeah, I mean, they're not fun. It's just, you're kind of like, okay, I got to get through this. Oh, I got the chest and back together. Sweet. Oh, there's still abs to go. And then the bum plate and the front plate and all that, and you're like, but it's just, you can't, you how do you boil the ocean? One pot at a time,
There
one
you go.
piece at a time, you just maybe do a hand guard. Oh, I got this hand guard all nice and cut out, today. I'll sand it and paint it tomorrow, and there'll be one more piece, even though it's the littlest piece. You feel a little bit of like you got something done.
Dan, do you have any more questions? By the way, you guys just jump in if you have questions. By the way,
Actually, it's about clones. You're like, do you like for example, like the chess pieces? Like, do you use the same chess pieces, like say for your Neo? I guess you can't really, but do you know what I mean? Like for your shiny clone, and then do you swap out pieces like that way, or do you just build the whole suit and then have like 30 clone trooper suits?
Well, there's cheats.
Yeah.
Like, I think I have 2 pairs of clone boots. One is for Wolf because he has gray ones, and it's also animated, but the rest of mine are realistic. And I have 1 pair of boots has lasted me for every other clone. So,
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think I have Neo has a different belt. Rex has a different belt. A few of them, but I use the same belt mostly.
Okay.
Just different parts. Like the ab plate is the same for most of them.
yeah, I'm looking at some of the clones you have here, and like for example, the 91st Reconnaissance one, Phase 1, Phase 2, the same belt, and then it looks similar to the 332nd Clone Trooper. So there are similarities. A lot of sharing of costume pieces, I'm assuming.
Yeah, and it's the 332nd. Especially, I mean, it's just my 501st clone with a different helmet. So you could, what says this is a new costume. There's some things that, well, let me change around the belt and add some different belt boxes or a holster and different gloves, and now it's this thing.
What is the most difficult one to troop in that you've found?
Oh, I don't know.
Or at least, is there a certain style of costumes that are very difficult, like ones with latex masks or clone troopers or anything like that?
Yeah, and latex masks, I think they're kind of hit and miss. It depends. I have a Dr. Evazon
Mhm.
mask. It's a full mask, and it's fine. You know, it's like it's just something over my face. It's not, it doesn't kill me or anything. But then I have a Pablo Jill mask, which he's the kind of upside down head Jedi guy from episode 2.
Oh,
I
that's
don't know.
crazy.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that guy.
He's in episode 2 for all of like 3 seconds, but
And then he's
uh,
shot or something like that.
I don't know. I think he lives actually.
Oh,
I think
does he
he's
live? Oh, okay,
yeah.
awesome.
I
I
think he
can't
made
remember. I
it
remember
to
someone getting, but that's funny. So you're okay with latex masks, or
yeah. But I was gonna say, but that one is it's bulkier because the head is weird. You know, I'm like looking out the mouth, and uh, you know, after a while, if you don't, I mean, some things if you don't put fans in, like little, you know, and just a, you know, maybe a 9-volt attached to like a computer fan, you know, wired together. You know, you stick 1 or 2 of those in there, and it's, you know, it's not perfect, but I kind of need that just a little bit of airflow sometimes, just so I don't feel like I'm about to suffocate myself and die. Um, so, and that goes with clone helmets, TK helmets, stormtrooper helmets. You know, um, mud trooper helmet. I'm still trying to put a fan in that. It's too small.
is there one that's the most difficult to look out of? One that gives you the worst? I heard
Oh, man.
Tuscans are pretty bad.
Neo's pretty terrible.
Yeah.
Because he has a very thin little eye thing that because also when I wear a clone, I wish I had a longer neck, because I feel like if I had a longer neck, my head would fit up where your eyes are supposed to be in the helmet, but I really don't. I'm just kind of looking out the nose like this.
Oh boy, Neo's eyes are small, and it's high too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really like above my, they're like right here. So I
Yeah.
kind of like, I'm trying to look down, or I look through the nose, like his nose is cut out. Just you can't see, but
You're just one eye out through that little nose piece
yeah.
right there.
Oh
You're
yeah,
wandering
there's
around
so
with
many
your
that
head.
I'm just you pick a, and it's funny. Even my like regular Phase 2 helmets, sometimes I can't quite look directly at them, because like the cheek things, they come up like, oh, let me just come up right in front of your eyes so you can't see. So I kind of, you know, I'll tilt the, you know, it's funny. I don't even realize I'm doing it. Like we'll be taking a picture and somebody will be like, BJ, look forward. I'm like, I am. They're like, no, you're looking. I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, I can't. You know, I'm just trying to see. Sorry.
We're gonna wrap it up soon here, but Jamie, do you have another question or so?
Yeah. One last one for you, BJ. Are there any costumes that you still have your eye on for making? Like, do you have any last like bucket list costumes or anything like that?
I always kind of set a list of things that I want to do, or like maybe possibilities. You know, like I'll think, well, you know, I have this. Maybe if I changed around a couple things, I could, dirty this up, and I'm always kind of scheming that in that sense. You know, like maybe I could, do this, and then, or oh, this has a different helmet. Cool, I'll just switch the helmets, and oh, the transport driver is the mud trooper without all the stuff that I hate to wear. That's great. You know, let me do that. But coming up, I do have a Django. I'm attempting again.
Oh, there you go.
Yay!
Nice.
Back on the horse.
I don't give up. Never give up. Never surrender. See how it goes. And I've got a kit, a Rogue One style TK kit that I've not
Ooh.
dove into yet. It's been sitting in its brown box for a couple years now, standing by till I get to it. And that and Django, I think that's my only 2 big projects. You know, and if something comes along that's fun, like, you know, like the prisoner, the Narkina suit, you know, like that was just me buying a suit and putting it on. And I was like, oh, I hate that costume. I'm like, why? That's great. It's fun, you know.
Have you done a run?
breathable.
Yeah, have you done the run?
Yeah, we had a run at Dragon Con in Atlanta.
Oh, nice.
We just shouted "No Way Out" and ran across like 5 different hotels and went to the pool at the inn.
Nice.
And they're like, let's do it again. I'm like, I'm tired. I just ran across the hotel in my pajamas, you know.
So any advice for those who are either thinking about becoming a member or for new people out there who want to become a member, whether it's Rebel Legion, Outer Rim Garrison, or any of the other sister or brother clubs? Do you have any advice for those people?
Sure. I mean, you know, in costuming, you don't have to be in a club, but if you want to be in a club, if you have any kind of initial, I guess, if you've heard bad things and think, oh, I heard bad things about this club, I don't want to join, please make an opinion for yourself. Don't just believe whatever you read on Facebook or something, you know, because you know that may have nothing to do with your part of the world, or you know, you might find that you have a bunch of cool fellow nerds to hang out with in your neck of the woods that you enjoy trooping with. Get in there and just get to know them.
Yeah.
You know, and if it doesn't work out, you don't like them, you know, I mean, you know, people are people. You don't get along with everybody, but 9 times out of 10, I bet you will, you know. Just don't get discouraged, you know. If you look up, I mean, I'll go back to just Biker Scout as an example. If you look up Biker Scout and you look at all the measurements and little requirements, and you think to yourself, good Lord, I'm not doing all that. Like, you know, you can. I mean, it's really not, it may look overwhelming, but it's not hard, you know. It's just a matter of just doing it, you know.
And that's where you also rely on the people who have gone through it as well. And I know every one of us here has been in that first step phase. They look at that CRL and it's like overwhelming, especially for people like myself who don't know how to build very well as speak very well. But it's just like it looks overwhelming. But if you talk to people, I had Jamie to help out, I had my friend Terry to help out, and they were there to assist. And that's where you connect with people, right?
Absolutely. Get into Facebook groups, and you know, we have, like, for our squad, we have like a recruits page that we lead people to. You know, back when I first joined, everything was on the forums. You know, go on this forum, that forum, this detachment, this site, and you know, now we have things that are just on TikTok and things that are just on Facebook, YouTube. So, I mean, there's so much stuff out there. Just make sure you're asking questions. Make sure you're looking at the right thing, because there's a lot of bad information out there too.
Yeah.
If you start, you know, I've heard a lot of, well, so and so told me this, and I built half my suit already, and I'm like, yeah, it's not
that
right.
trap of someone saying, "Oh yeah, it's been 501st approved. You can put it on and wear it." Not necessarily.
Dude, let me hit on that real quick. That is a good point I've seen over the years, because you know, stuff changes. You know, people don't change the CRLs or the standards to be mean. You know, as we get Blu-rays and we get good, you know, as we get to know people that work on these shows and they show us on their social media, this is how this costume is. You know, we're not changing stuff to be mean and to, you know, make more hard things for you to do for your costume. It's just, you know, you want it to look right, you want it to be accurate. And sometimes things 10 years ago, like I look at, you know, you're talking Garandan, or I think that's how you say his name. Can't remember.
Something like that. I'm just guessing at this point.
Yeah, but, you know, I think I would say probably the only thing that's matches the current CRL that I have is like the mask, and maybe the boots, because like everything else is different, which is fine. You know what? I'm not mad about it. That's just, you know, back when they made that in like 2009 or 10, like, you know, we're looking at old, dark, blurry, grainy VHS tapes. And, you know, we're lucky we can get like the shape of his schnoz right there, you know, much less like what kind of shirt he's got on and stuff. So, you know, just make sure you're looking at the right information. You know, I've Googled CRLs for stuff, and sometimes something outdated came up, and I noticed it. I was like, wait a minute, that's not right. You know, once something's on the internet, it's on there forever. You know, you just kind of find it by accident. Sometimes go to the actual 501st.com or go to the actual detachment. They will have the most update information.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much, BJ. We really appreciate you, especially it's so late at night out there in Florida. But is there any place that any things that you want to where we can find you, or the garrison, or anything like that you want to share? Any social medias?
Yeah, well, I'm all over Facebook, BJ Savage or BJ Savage 7. You'll find me there on Instagram, Facebook, and I do have a YouTube channel. It's called Throwbacks Toys. If you want to look that up, it's just me
Nice.
talking about toys.
Definitely, we'll put all the links in down below, and so we can connect. And Dan, anything for you, by the way? Anything you want to push or plug or?
Well, we've got Fan Expo coming up in a couple of weeks. Oh, that's going to be fun. No, besides that, just trying to figure out what costume I'm going to work on next and see what will be number 14.
Did this inspire you, sir? Did this inspire you for any ideas? Because you and me were talking, and we were trying to come up with some ideas.
It inspired a divorce, that's pretty sure. But if I get any more costumes,
he'll be like, "Hey man, what is this thing here? How do you do this one thing?" and I'll tell him, I'm like, "Well, I mean, I try to be as honest and helpful as I can. I say, well, this is what I do. This is where I got mine. This was legit 10 years ago. Don't, if I'm wrong."
No,
Jamie,
no,
where can
I've got a few things, yeah. Anyway.
Sorry, Dan. I apologize. It's so hard to read. I apologize. Jamie, where can we find you?
You can find me on our new video series on the Generation X-Wing podcast YouTube site, Ready to Believe. It's my foray into non-Star Wars costuming, and we're doing Ghostbusters. And BJ, hopefully we get to troop together one day. That'd be a ton of fun, man.
Yes,
that would be awesome.
Ghostbusters too.
Do you have a Ghostbusters costume, sir?
Yeah, I did.
Awesome.
Yeah. We didn't even touch the GI Joe stuff. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Maybe I apologize. Oh, okay. Quickly. Favorite GI Joe costume you have? I know it's cliche, but favorite GI Joe costume.
Ripcord.
Ripcord. Wow, I didn't expect that one. That's a good one. Hey, Dan, you happy now? Yeah.
It'd be better if it was Cobra Troopers, but okay, I'll go with Ripcord. Actually, I still think I have my original Ripcord action figure, actually. Anyway, yeah.
As for me, Outerman Rookie, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and obviously the Outerman Rookie Show on YouTube, which you're watching right now. Thank you. Please like, please subscribe. Helps us get to 500. We're almost there. And thanks again, BJ, for coming in, and we will talk to you later. So remember, armor is built on hope. Bye.
BJ must have a lot of hope.